They call it a secret room, but it's really a little lie I've kept from everyone I love. It's a walk-in closet with a door I lock and a mirror I pretend is just for checking my tie. It started as a drawer of things I thought I'd never show anyone: lipstick fonts hidden behind shirts, a pair of heels shoved beneath boxes of old sneakers, but it became the only place I can breathe. The truth is simple and complicated all at once. When I close that door, I'm not pretending. I'm the only person I've ever been completely honest with. My name is Daniel. By day, I sit in a grey cubicle and sell insurance policies to people who rarely smile. I am not a flashy man. My life is neat in the ways that feel safe. The same suit at 9 a.m. on Tuesdays, the same coffee shop where the barista knows my order, the same television show I watch because it's predictable. I fell in love with Isabella because she's warmth in a world of thermostats. She laughs loudly in the kitchen, cares for stray cats like their family, and knows the right song for any small sadness. She thinks she knows me. She knows my allergies and my favorite childhood memory. She knows the shape of my hand when it's empty. She does not know about the way I press eyeliner into the back of my wrist when the apartment is quiet. Cross-dressing for me is not a one-line explanation. It is not a bedroom fetish or a weekend stunt. It's a slow revelation that began with curiosity and grew into a compulsion for honesty I couldn't show without a costume. When I stand in Isabella's old curtain dress, I feel a softness that slang doesn't give. When I put on her perfume for a moment of myself, I feel like someone has turned a light on in a house I'd been living in alone. It's not that I want to be someone else all the time. It's that in those clothes pieces of me come unstuck from worry and expectation and settle into something that feels true. Sometimes it's joy. Sometimes it's terror. Always it's a risk. I love Isabella. That is the part that makes everything messy. We moved into this flat 3 months before she proposed we share our lives properly, a sort of domestic promise we both fell into. She thought moving in meant we had nothing to hide. I thought moving in meant I had to hide harder. I would fold my dresses and stack them away in a way that made me feel like my secret was an ornament rather than the real thing. I did it because I feared losing her. I feared the look of disappointment that's quieter than anger and heavier than silence. And yet there is another fear that sits beside that one. The fear of never becoming the person I feel in the mirror when the door is locked. The apartment is small and honest. The living room has sunlight that spills in as if it is trying to warm the floorboards. Isabella likes plants. She thinks the living room needs more green. The bedroom is where we sleep and where she leaves notes for me about groceries and my stupid jokes. The secret room, the closet at the end of the hallway, sits like a soft promise tucked behind coats and a vacuum. It has a single bulb, a small lamp that throws flattering light, and the mirror that I polish until my reflection looks like a photograph I can step into. There's a chair with a ripped arm I glued back together because the room deserved better. There's a music player that remembers faster songs for when I want to laugh and slower ones for when I want to hold my breath and listen to myself breathe. Isabella is not the enemy. She's not suspicious or cruel. She's the person who leaves me voice notes that say things like, "I can't wait to see you tonight." She's the person I almost told once, 2 years ago, as we sat on the couch with tea cooling between us. My mouth opened and closed like a hinge. I told myself I would say the words tomorrow. I never did. The secret needed rehearsing, and I was coward enough to prefer rehearsals over confession. I told myself someday I would tell her, properly, with a letter and a coffee, with an explanation that fitted neatly into sentences. Instead I whispered apologies into the pillow and practiced calm on the outside. At work I am a model employee of normalcy. I file forms. I make small talk. I smile like a man who has no secret that could tip the world off its axis. My colleagues know me as Reliable Daniel, the one who brings muffins on Fridays and always remembers company birthdays. To them I am a non-threatening presence, which is perfect because the secret thrives in the ordinary. The irony tastes like metal sometimes, living a life so recognizable that the smallest deviation would stick out like a bright dress in a sea of gray suits. People think secrets are dramatic. In reality they are just a series of small, careful choices: what to lock, what to delete from a search history, which text messages to archive. My life has become a choreography of avoidance. I time my dressing sessions for when Isabella goes to her weekly ceramics class. I build excuses for sudden smells of perfume clinging to the bathroom mirror. I move the chair in the closet so the sound of heels disappearing down the hallway will be muffled. It's absurd and meticulous and exhausting. And yet there is a tenderness to the ritual. I remember the first time I applied mascara and felt the world tilt. The brush trembled like a confession. When the shadow settled and I looked in the mirror, something that had been a rumor for years became a photograph, clear, undeniable. My hands held the contour of a face I recognized as mine. Clothes hugged parts of me I'd kept flat for public consumption. The sensations were immediate and simple. The soft pinch at the waist of a skirt I'd never owned, the unfamiliar weight of earrings I tried not to imagine showing Isabella, the small breathless laugh that bubbled up when I realized I felt beautiful. There was shame too, beside the thrill. Shame that I had to hide this beauty, shame that it felt so forbidden, shame that I couldn't share without causing pain. I keep a small box in the back of the closet with things that mean more than they should. A photograph of my grandmother in a dress that used to make the whole family stop and stare, a receipt for the first wig I ever bought, a folded note from a stranger in an online forum telling me simply that I'm not alone. Those objects are talismans. They remind me that identity is not a single file to be kept under lock and key but a collage of memory and desire. When I touch them my chest loosens a degree. Tonight the apartment is quiet. Isabella is late at a gallery opening she promised she'd show me one day. The light in the living room slants through blinds like prison bars. I stand in the doorway to the secret room and look at the mirror that has seen my private rehearsals and private triumphs. Outside that door are the scripts of my life I show the world. The neat suit, the small talk, the laugh that isn't too long. Inside that door is the part of me that wants more than the shape the world hands out. I close the door, feeling the slight click of the lock like the start of a heartbeat. I take off my belt slowly as if I'm undoing a knot inside myself. The room holds its breath with me. I will become her tonight, if only for an hour. I will practice the way my voice settles and the way my hands find new shapes. I will let myself feel the soft friction of silk and the dangerous lift of heels. I will step into that reflection and see who I am without the armor of predictability. If anything could go wrong, it always happens when the world is supposed to be quiet. That is the truth that sits in the back of my throat with the same weight as longing. Secrets have a way of being discovered at the worst possible moment. But tonight I tell myself the risk is worth the light I will feel inside that mirror. I tell myself one more time that tomorrow I will tell Isabella. After that, I take a breath and cross the threshold. The lamp hums. The mirror waits. Somewhere in the apartment the front door clicks and the keys inside rattle. That sound is not mine. The sound of the keys still echoed in my ears, faint but sharp, like metal tapping the inside of my chest from the wrong angle. I couldn't move. My fingers tightened around the fabric of the dress I hadn't finished putting on. It hung from one hand like a confession suspended in midair. The mirror in front of me reflected a version of myself that didn't know what would happen in the next 30 seconds. A version caught between identities, between truths, between desires I hadn't dared to speak aloud. And then, again, footsteps. It took every ounce of strength not to scream, not to slam the closet door, not to burst out into the hallway begging whoever it was to leave. My breath stuttered. My pulse hammered the inside of my skull. What had started as a night of escape was now stretching into a nightmare I hadn't even imagined in my long list of fears. Hello. A voice. Definitely a man's. Deep. Solid. Confident in the way someone is when they believe they belong where they are. My heart lurched hard enough that my knees almost gave out. A stranger in the apartment was already terrifying. But a stranger in the apartment while I was half dressed in silk, perfume thick on my skin, eyeliner framing my eyes, that was a horror with its own gravity. Every scenario in my head flashed and collapsed at once. Did I forget to lock the door? Did Isabella send someone? Was this a burglar? A neighbor? Maintenance? I was shaking badly enough that the dress slipped from my fingers, landing in a soft crumple on the floor. For a long moment I didn't move. My brain didn't work. Only fear worked. Then the man spoke again, louder this time, closer this time. Maintenance. You put in a request about the light fixture. The bathroom light. My own stupid request. My mind exploded in frantic panic, the way it only does when you know this is your fault and your secret and your mess and there's no escape that won't hurt. I lunged. Not gracefully, just fast. The lamp went off. The entire secret room sank into shadows, except for the thin strip of light beneath the door. I grabbed my hoodie, shoving it over my half-made-up chest. The sweatpants were twisted but I forced them on. My eyelashes still held mascara. My lips tasted like the cherry gloss I'd used only minutes ago. I wiped my mouth with my sleeve, but the gloss smeared. The sweet scent stuck to my skin. He knocked, 3 taps, too polite for the panic I felt. Sir? You in here? My voice cracked. Yeah, 1 second. I smoothed my hair down with both trembling hands, smudging foundation across my fingers. My cheek burned where I'd wiped eyeliner. I opened the door only an inch. Enough to show a shadowed version of myself. The man, a stocky guy with a mustache and a navy uniform, blinked at me. You okay? He asked. I nodded too quickly. Migraine. Dark helps. He sniffed the air. Perfume. Lipstick. Powder. My perfume. My secret. He didn't comment, just narrowed his eyes slightly, as though trying to piece together the inconsistencies. Sweat dampened my hairline, but I forced my shoulders down, forced calm to wrap around me like a blanket I didn't feel. The bathroom light? He asked. Yeah, I said, hoping my voice didn't wobble. It's flickering again. He nodded and stepped past me. The moment he crossed in front of the secret room, I closed the door behind me with the softest click I could manage. My heart was still pounding, but there was something else now, the overwhelming awareness that my perfume still lingered in the entire hallway. A floral vanilla scent Isabella didn't use. A scent I only wore when I became the version of myself the world wasn't supposed to see. The maintenance man worked fast, pulling out tools, muttering to himself. I stood in the hallway like I wasn't sure whether to guard the door or disappear into it. He glanced over his shoulder once. Did you spray something? Smells fancy in here. My stomach fell. Just aired out the bedroom, I said. Isabella burned a candle that was too strong. A lie. But one that passed. He nodded. Women and candles, he chuckled. If only he knew. I stood fidgeting, gripping the bottom of my hoodie so hard the fabric twisted. My mind raced through every inch of the apartment. Had I left anything out? Had I left wig caps on the bed? Lipstick on the counter? My heels. My blood went cold. The heels. They were right outside the secret room door. I had dropped them earlier. My entire body tightened. Every muscle seized. The maintenance man finished with a grunt and stepped out. All done. Should be fine now. Thanks, I said quickly, trying to block his view of the hallway. He frowned, noticing my strange posture. Then he started to walk forward. Toward the heels. The world slowed. My bones locked. My throat burned. I stepped sideways, casual on the outside, frantic on the inside. He stopped, confused. Something wrong? No, I said too quickly. Just messy. Haven't cleaned. He shrugged. Apartment of a young couple never is. Young couple. That phrase caught in my chest and twisted, reminding me that Isabella had no idea I lived two lives inside the same walls. He gathered his tools. All right. You have a good night. You too, I whispered. When he left and the door clicked shut, my body finally moved again. I sank to the floor. Hard. My breath exploded out of me like I had been drowning. Sweat slicked my forehead. My hands trembled uncontrollably. The heels. The dress. The perfume. The makeup. I had almost been exposed. My secret almost ended in a random Tuesday night maintenance visit. I crawled toward the secret room door and pushed it open. The sight inside nearly made me cry, not out of sadness, but out of fear that came crashing down after being held too long. The dress was still crumpled on the floor. The wig sat on the chair, the soft curls glowing in the dim light. The perfume bottle lay open. My lipstick cap was still off. Everything screamed the truth I couldn't say out loud. I picked up the dress with careful hands, as though it could break. The scent of it, my scent, rose into the air again. A scent of comfort and danger. When my heartbeat finally slowed, a strange impulse washed over me. Finish the transformation. It was reckless. Foolish. Terrifying. But I needed it. The near disaster made me feel the truth even more strongly. When the world tried to pry me out of my hidden identity, I clung to it even harder. I stood in front of the mirror, hoodie sliding to the floor. My reflection held ghostly traces of the woman I had been building before the interruption. Smudged eyeliner, soft cheeks still touched by foundation, lips bearing the faint stain of gloss. I picked up the dress. Slowly. Reverently. The fabric whispered against my skin as I stepped into it. It slid over my hips like it had been waiting. My hair, my real hair, fell around my face, messy and too short, but still mine. I opened the drawer and pulled out the wig, lifting it gently. When the wig settled against my head, when the curls framed my face once more, something inside me clicked back into place. The fear didn't vanish, but it shifted, becoming a strange thrill that made the edges of everything sharp and vivid. I stepped into the heels, my legs trembling from adrenaline. The height changed the way I carried myself instantly. My breathing leveled. My lips parted. My shoulders softened, my posture shifting like muscle memory pulling me into shape. I became her again. Not Daniel in a dress. Not a man pretending. Me, whole, clear, honest. I stood there for a long moment, letting the mirror take me in fully. The near disaster still lingered like static, but beneath it was a rising electricity I couldn't ignore. Then, my phone buzzed. A message from Isabella. On my way home. Traffic is crazy, but I'll be there in 15 minutes. 15. I looked around the room. The makeup scattered on the table. The wig on my head. The heels. The dress. The perfume. My reflection. 15 minutes to erase the truth. Or 15 minutes to embrace it. My stomach twisted violently, because for the first time in my life, I didn't want to clean everything up. I didn't want to hide. I didn't want to pretend the mirror was only glass and not a doorway. I didn't want to lie to her again. I didn't want to lie to myself. And that realization was more terrifying than the maintenance man, more terrifying than being caught, more terrifying than anything I had ever faced. My hands went numb. If I stayed dressed, Isabella would see everything. If I changed back, I would suffocate on my own lie. A soft sound escaped my throat, half laugh, half sob. 15 minutes. The clock glared at me. 14 now. The air was hot with adrenaline. The room felt too small. My heels clicked softly as I paced. The perfume cloud still hung like a truth I couldn't avoid. I touched the mirror. My fingertip left a small print on the glass. 14 minutes. My phone buzzed again. Want anything from the store? I can grab dessert. Dessert. How strange that a normal message felt more dangerous than anything else tonight. I typed back with shaking fingers. No, I'm good. Good? I was the opposite of good. I was unraveling and forming at the same time. I looked at myself once more. Not ready to be seen. Too ready to be seen. 13 minutes. My pulse throbbed. What would she say? Would she scream? Would she cry? Would she laugh? Would she leave? Would this be the moment everything ended, or the moment everything began? I tried taking the wig off, but my hands froze halfway, gripping the soft curls. The thought of removing it made my throat close. 12 minutes. I needed to decide. But every time I started to move, the memory of almost being caught by a stranger replayed in my mind, pushing me further toward the need to live honestly, even if it hurt. My legs felt weak. The truth was this. I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to erase myself. Not again. Not tonight. 11 minutes. My breath trembled. And then, unexpectedly, another thought emerged. One that hit like a punch to the ribs. What if Isabella didn't come home alone? What if she brought someone? A friend? A co-worker? Her sister? What if my truth didn't meet just one person, but two? My vision blurred for a second. 10 minutes. I closed my eyes, forcing myself to stillness, forcing air into my lungs. The perfume wrapped around me. The dress clung to my waist. The heels grounded me. The wig framed me. Every part of me said the same thing. You cannot hide forever. 9 minutes. My phone buzzed again. Almost home. Elevator was fast today, LOL. She was in the building. In the building. My body locked up. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. She was minutes, maybe seconds, away. 8 minutes. I looked once more at my reflection, feeling the weight of the moment settle over me like a second skin. The fear didn't fade, but it turned into something sharper. Determination. Need. Truth. 7 minutes. The hallway outside creaked. Footsteps. Familiar ones this time. Isabella. Her keys jingled, the loud, clattering sound I always associated with her laughter. 6 minutes. 5. Her shadow passed the door crack. 4. Her hand touched the knob. 3. I stood in heels, in a dress, in mascara, in truth. 2. The door turned. 1. She walked in. End of 5,000 word build-up block. The room felt too small for the weight of what was happening. The woman standing in front of me radiated a strange mixture of authority and mystery, something that made the air thicker, heavier, as if every breath I took belonged to her. My brother hovered near the door, silent now, watching me the way someone watches a candle burning too close to a curtain, waiting to see what would catch fire first. Her eyes locked onto mine, unblinking, sharp, almost predatory. I felt myself shrinking under that gaze even though I was the one in heels, the one dressed as delicately as a porcelain doll. She walked around me slowly, each step echoing like a countdown to something inevitable. "I knew you'd fit the role," she murmured, her fingertips grazing the edge of my shoulder. It was a touch too gentle to trust. "Your brother wasn't exaggerating. You're perfect." My throat tightened. Role for what? Why am I dressed like this? Why me? She stopped behind me, close enough that I felt the warmth of her breath near my neck. In the mirror, her reflection hovered like a shadow stitched to my back. "Because tonight," she said, "you will become someone else. Fully. Completely. And there's no turning back once it begins." My heart slammed against my ribs, trying to break out. "I don't understand what you want from me." "You will," she replied softly. "In a few minutes." She walked to my brother, speaking to him in a low voice I couldn't quite make out. He nodded, but his jaw was tight, as if he wasn't as confident now as he had been earlier. Something had shifted. Something he hadn't predicted. Then she turned to me again, her voice echoing with finality. "Sit," she commanded, pointing at the chair in front of the mirror. I didn't want to obey. But my legs moved anyway, the way they move in a nightmare where you have no control, no voice, only the momentum of someone else's will forcing you forward. I sat down, gripping the armrests as if they were the only things keeping me from unraveling. She stepped behind me and placed both hands on my shoulders. "Look at yourself," she whispered. I lifted my eyes. The person staring back at me wasn't me. The makeup, the contouring, the lashes, the shimmering lilac dress hugging my shape, the soft curls framing my face, none of it belonged to the boy I had been that morning. It was almost insulting how easily my identity had been rewritten. It didn't look fake. It didn't look forced. It didn't look like a prank. It looked real. Too real. "You see her, don't you?" the woman whispered. "The version of you that was always hiding beneath the surface." "That's not me," I whispered. This is just makeup." She leaned closer, lips inches from my ear. "Do you really believe that? After what you see in the mirror? After what you feel?" I swallowed hard. Because deep inside, buried beneath the panic, was a whisper, an uncomfortable truth, that maybe the reflection did feel a little too natural. A little too right. My brother cleared his throat. "Should we start?" "Start what?" The woman smiled, her reflection flickering like a dangerous omen in the mirror. "Yes. It's time." She moved in front of me and crouched down until we were eye level. "Listen carefully," she said, voice low but razor-sharp. "Tonight is an event. A gathering. A private one. Very selective. Very powerful people. And they expect a performance." My stomach dropped. "A performance?" She nodded slowly. "You are the centerpiece." I felt sick. No, I'm not doing this." She tilted her head, studying me. "You don't have a choice." My breath hitched. "Why me? Why not someone else?" Her eyes glinted. "Because your brother made a deal. A very important one. And in return, I asked for one thing, someone who could transform. Someone who could become the perfect illusion." I looked at my brother, betrayal choking me. "What did you do?" His eyes flickered away, guilt flooding his face. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," he said. "It was just supposed to be a makeover. A few pictures. That's it. I didn't know she wanted." She cut him off sharply. "You knew enough. You made a promise." "A promise. And I was the price." My breathing quickened. "I'm not going anywhere. You can't force me." She stood up and took a step back. "Oh, but this isn't about force," she said calmly. "This is about inevitability. Look at yourself. Do you really think anyone would believe you're not her?" I looked again. The reflection, her reflection, looked back. My legs felt weak. My pulse thundered in my ears. Then the woman extended her hand toward me. "Stand," she ordered. I didn't move. Her eyes darkened. Stand. My body obeyed before my brain did. My brother looked away. She walked closer, lifted my chin with one finger, and said the words that shattered every piece of my remaining sanity. From this moment forward, your old identity is no longer required. My chest tightened. You can't just take who I am. I'm not taking it, she said softly. You're giving it up. No. You already did the moment you put on that dress. The moment you let him do your makeup. The moment you let yourself become what you are now. That wasn't my choice. She smiled as if she knew something I didn't. Isn't it? You didn't fight. You didn't run. You didn't scream. You let it happen. Her words pierced deeper than any blade. Because she was right, at every step I had hesitated, frozen, allowed others to decide for me. Allowed the transformation to continue. She circled me again, her voice hypnotically controlled. You think tonight is about humiliation? It isn't. It's about revelation. She stopped in front of me. You are the final act. The climax. The performance that will make them remember this night forever. My mouth went dry. I won't do it. You will. No. She stepped even closer, so close I could see the subtle sparkle in her irises. They're already waiting. The music, the lights, the audience, all prepared for you. You can't disappoint them. My knees trembled. She leaned forward until her lips nearly brushed my ear. And trust me, she whispered, the moment you step into that room, they will believe you were always meant to be her. I felt something inside me break, like the last string holding my identity together snapped under the pressure. I'm not her, I whispered weakly. She smiled, placing a soft kiss on my cheek, an unsettlingly gentle gesture after everything. You are now. I staggered backward, but the heels betrayed me. I stumbled, catching myself against the dresser. The room blurred. My reflection shimmered like a ghost unraveling. My brother rushed forward. Maybe this is too much. She raised a hand. He froze like she had tied invisible strings around him. Then she spoke a single line that sealed my fate. Bring the car around. We're leaving. He hesitated. I said now. He left. I was alone with her. She walked to the window, pulling the curtain aside. A long black car idled outside, headlights slicing through the darkness like blades. It's time, she said. I can't, I whispered. Please. I'm not ready. She turned to me slowly. No one is ready for their rebirth, she said softly. They just walk into it. She held out her hand again. Come. My hand trembled as I stared at her outstretched fingers, polished, elegant, merciless. No, I whispered, even as my feet took one step forward. I'm not her. You are, she replied, her hand touching mine, cold and warm at the same time. And tonight, the world will see you. I felt the weight of the door behind me, the weight of the future in front of me, the weight of an identity slipping through my fingers like sand. I walked toward the door. Each step in those heels felt like surrender, or transformation, or both. When we reached the threshold, she whispered, "Welcome to your new life." The hallway outside the room felt colder than it should have, as if the air itself recoiled from what was about to happen. My heels clicked softly against the polished floor, too soft, too elegant, too wrong for someone who didn't choose any of this. The woman's fingers wrapped around my wrist, firm, guiding, pulling me toward a future I never agreed to. The long corridor stretched ahead like a tunnel of fate, and every step felt like I was walking deeper into someone else's life while mine dissolved behind me. My brother waited at the end of the hallway, his face pale under the fluorescent lights. He looked at me, really looked, and for the first time, his confidence cracked. His eyes flicked down my figure, the shimmering dress hugging my shape, the curls falling delicately around my shoulders. Regret hit him too late, too weak to stop anything now. "She's ready," the woman announced as she approached him. He swallowed. "Are you sure this is necessary?" She tilted her head slowly, like a predator amused by prey. "Do you want to break the contract?" That shut him up. His jaw snapped closed. His fingers curled at his sides. He didn't look at me again. Outside, the black car waited under a flickering street lamp. The night was too quiet, too still, as if the whole world held its breath. My body shook, But the heels forced me to stand impossibly straight. The dress forced me to glide instead of walk. Everything about this transformation pushed me into a version of myself that didn't feel entirely imaginary anymore. "You will enter the event through the east wing," the woman instructed, her voice smooth as silk. "They are expecting someone breathtaking." "I'm not going," I whispered, my voice cracking. "You can't make me." She paused, turned to face me fully. Her eyes shimmered in the dim light, carrying something dangerous, and something eerily knowing. "You still don't understand," she said softly. "This isn't about making you go. It's about revealing what's already inside you." "That's not me," I insisted. "I'm not this. I'm not her." Her lips curved gently, almost pityingly. "Then why are you trembling like someone afraid of losing her place on stage?" My breath hitched. Because I was trembling. Because some terrible part of me wasn't trembling from fear alone. Because some tiny poisonous spark inside me wondered what would happen if I stepped into that room. And they believed in the woman I had become. She leaned in close enough that her perfume wrapped around me. "Whether you fight or accept it doesn't matter," she whispered. "The moment you walk into that room, they will see only one truth, your truth." "I don't have a truth like that." She smiled as if she knew me better than I knew myself. "Everyone does. Yours just needed a little help coming to the surface." My chest tightened. I looked at my brother, the person who should have defended me, protected me, stopped all of this. But he just stood there, silently drowning in guilt he didn't have the courage to confess out loud. "Get in the car," she ordered. My legs refused. For a moment. Then, they moved. The door opened with a soft click. Warm, dim lighting glowed inside, casting a golden sheen on the leather seats. My reflection flickered faintly in the tinted window, delicate, feminine, unfamiliar. A stranger I was being forced to become. Or was becoming despite myself. I couldn't tell anymore. When I sat inside, the interior lights illuminated everything. The curls framing my face, the flawless makeup, the shimmer of the dress. It was too convincing. Too complete. She slid in beside me, closing the door with finality. My brother remained outside, watching helplessly as the car prepared to pull away. The woman placed a hand on my knee, not comforting, not threatening, but possessive. "This is the moment your old life ends," she said. "You will not return as the person you were." My voice shook. "I'm going to tell them who I really am. I'm going to tell them the truth." "You can try," she murmured. "But when you open your mouth, ask yourself, will they believe you?" I turned toward the window. The house. My brother. The quiet street. The last traces of who I had been only hours ago. All falling away as the engine rumbled to life. The woman tapped her nails lightly against my thigh. "Don't worry," she said sweetly. "The moment you step inside that room, everything will make sense." "What does that mean?" I whispered. She didn't answer. The car began to roll forward. The night swallowed us. My pulse hammered in my ears. Every breath felt too loud. The city lights blurred past like streaks of fate pulling me into something I couldn't escape. Finally, after minutes that felt like hours, the car slowed. We turned down a long private driveway, lined with lanterns, lush hedges, and a distant hum of music in the air. Something grand loomed ahead. A mansion? A venue? A secret estate? My heart plummeted. People. Dozens of them. All in elegant gowns, sharp suits, sparkling jewels. All arriving. All expecting something, or someone. The woman leaned in close, her breath brushing my cheek. "This," she whispered, "is where your life flips." The car door clicked. My hand shook on the handle. The music grew louder. My reflection trembled in the glass. And then, the door swung open by itself. A shadowy figure in a suit stepped forward, offered a gloved hand, and said in a low voice that made my blood freeze, "Welcome. We've been waiting for her." Her. For me. My breath stopped. The woman beside me smiled in victory. I stared at the outstretched hand, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to do anything as the world tilted sharply, threatening to collapse. And then a voice echoed from behind us, desperate, breathless, unmistakable. "Stop. Don't let her out." My brother. The guards turned. The woman's smile vanished. And I froze between two lives colliding at once. The door remained open. The hand remained extended. The future hovered inches away. The truth, whatever it was about to explode.